I've got the sound technician. Can you all hear me okay?
Perfect.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. Right, okay, just before we start tonight's meeting, just sort of some general sort of housekeeping. If there is a fire, please make sure that you use the appropriate exits, which you'll see located to the side. Obviously, that is the main exit, the front door. Just basically follow the big, fat, blue-shaped blob, because I'll be the first one out the door, and if you just kind of follow my tail, you'll be fine. Okay, so please just keep an eye out for that. There are refreshments on sale, so they will be now closing this bar in a couple of minutes. However, there is another bar just at the back there, which will be open throughout, I believe. And I believe there are teas and coffees and various snack foods still being sold throughout there, so if you fancy a sort of nibble or some coffee to keep you awake, then please do help yourself. Further to that, I'd like to thank the staff here at Western Hall Hotel, because they've actually donated this room for free tonight, which is, I mean, it's a lovely gesture. Big thank you to the team. I know I came here on Sunday and they were busily putting out all these chairs, and it is greatly appreciated what you've done for us, so thank you on behalf of myself and I think on behalf of the wider community of Bulkington. So thank you very much to you guys now for coming tonight, because what we said we would do when we met way back when in February now, it seems such a long time ago, is that we would at some point give you an update. I know a number of people, when we sort of bump into them on the street, you know, said, oh, when are you having another meeting, what's going on? And we thought, well, this is probably as good a time as any. We did start actually planning this meeting a few weeks ago, quite a few weeks ago in fact. It does take some time to put everything together and get the leaflets sorted out. And it was before they'd actually called the general election, so please don't think that you know, it's been driven by a general election. We did ask Theresa May to consult with us, obviously, and she decided yeah, not to take our advice on that one. But yeah, we'll crack on anyway, regardless. So I say, welcome to our second public meeting tonight. Just to sort of start off with, I just want to reiterate who we are and what we're not, essentially. And this is taken from the first meeting. It's, you know, we haven't changed it, we haven't updated it, it's still the same PowerPoint. Essentially, we are a steering group of concerned residents opposed to the development of the proposed plans in Bulkington, which are HSG 7 and HSG 8. What we are not, we are not politically motivated, we're not affiliated to any particular party. We'll basically work with pretty much anybody who shares our common aims and goals. None of us are elected. I say we all met as a group. We all met sort of when we went to various planning meetings or various sort of public meetings which were held at the library, etc., at the town hall, and we all found out that we were all really incensed and outraged by what was going on. And we said, right, we need to do something about this. And you know, this is how sort of Bulkington's residents' voice was actually formed. We're not experts on planning or the law either. We don't have any legal eagles in our midst. We have had quite a fast and steep learning curve because we've been pouring through sort of various council documents trying to find out what's been going on over the last few years. So we probably have started to acquire a little bit of knowledge here and there, but by no means are we sort of experts in planning law or anything like that. And then finally, the aim of BRV is to provide a voice to challenge the Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council's development proposals for Bulkington. Okay, we do have one public disclosure that we thought it was really important to make tonight, and it's concerning two of our founding members. Two of those members are Councillor Jeff Morgan and Richard Smith. Now, both of them will be standing up for re-election again on the 4th of May, so they'll be up for re-election on Thursday, both of them. Because of that, they're not sort of sat here tonight with the rest of us. They are sort of in the room somewhere, you know, under camouflage, so you might see them. But it was thought it would be inappropriate to have them here because what we didn't want is people to be swayed and think, oh, you know, they're conservative-run party. We're not. And they kindly agreed with that it was a right and proper thing for them to take a back seat for this evening. Both candidates have agreed, okay, that you know we are non-political, and that's something that we're really keen to sort of maintain, because we do want to appeal to as many people within the community as possible. I'm sure it will put certain people off if they think we're a political movement. Okay, so the purpose of this meeting then, okay, this is what we're hoping to cover over the next hour or so. First of all, we want to provide a recap of the borough plan issue. Then we're going to explain what action has been taken by Bulkington residents' voice thus far. Then we're going to update residents on the council's actions and responses. We're going to then update you guys on our actions, and then we're going to explain to you the next step. So hopefully you'll have a really clear idea of what's been happening over the last couple of months and where we intend to go into the near future. Okay, so start with a recap then. As you can see, we've got Bulkington there. The areas in sort of orange, they are the proposed developments which our council has sort of put in. In Bulkington, there are several sites, and they're broken down as HSG 7, so that's kind of by Bramcote Close, Lancing Road on the east of the village. They're looking to build approximately 200 houses there. And then on the west of the village, and you can see again the road names there, so that help you orientate yourselves. They're looking to build around about another 500 homes in that part of the village in total. Okay, so what have we done so far? Well, a lot of you remember that we sort of spent a long time sort of talking to you about filling in representation forms. We then sort of had a big exercise of getting those representation forms out into the community. And at this point, I would like to say a huge thank you to all those people who volunteered to go shoving bits of paperwork through people's doors and knocking on doors to collect things in. I'd really like to say thank you, because without your help and support, we couldn't have done that. We couldn't have got that information out, not within the sort of 2-week time frame that we had essentially after we'd sort of spoken to people, because we had a deadline, I think, of the 13th of March. So it was actually a very tight deadline for us. In terms of what we collected 1,157 representation forms back as a community. So that's 1,157 different households in Bulkington. And there are around about, 2,500 households. So that represents approximately 50% of all homes in Bulkington submitted one of those response forms. And just to give, I was trying to think how can we put that into some sort of context. And the closest I could come up with is when you've had the last local council election, the person who was voted in 2015 in the future, no, 2015, actually won with 810 votes. So actually this represents a significantly larger number of respondents. So it shows there is a passion and a strength throughout the community. And I'd like to thank everyone here who actually took the time to fill it in, to drop it into Kim's or the newsagents or the Weaver's Arms. Okay, thank you very much, because I'm sure you have other things that you would rather be doing on your Saturday afternoon, but we really do appreciate that. So a huge thank you to all those involved. We then sort of held surgeries in the village as well. So we actually spent a day in the village centre and in the Weaver's Arm, which was, as you can imagine, a real hardship sitting there, waiting for people to drop forms off. I think there's 1 or 2 people, maybe no names, who did get a little bit, squiffy. We also were in the village centre again last Saturday, and it's been lovely because not only people have been sort of handing in bits of paperwork or signing petitions, but they've actually been engaging with us and talking to us and asking us questions. And again, a lot of people saying the same sort of thing, what's going on? We're still not sure about what's happening. And so that's, again, why we thought it was a good idea to hold this meeting at this sort of point in time. We then presented our forms. So we took them, that's us in front of Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council's Town Hall. And you can see us there. And we submitted, to say, 1,157 forms in total. We weren't the only people that day, and we did get a receipt. Not that we didn't trust the council officials, but you always get a receipt for these things, don't we? So we did get the chief executive of the council. He did sign a chit saying that yes, we've handed that many in, and he hasn't got back to challenge our numbers. So I'm hoping they accepted all of those. Now, the benefit of submitting all of that information is, as well as submitting that, we also submitted 2 sort of packs of information. So what we submitted was 2 bits of information on HSG 7 and HSG 8. Okay? And I just want to kind of run through those proposal packs and the reason why your kind of support was so important on that. So each strategic housing site has a separate number. So for the 2 that we're concerned with, you see HSG 7, HSG 8. And what we had to do was to direct objections at those specific policies. So it couldn't be one for the whole borough, it had to be directly to the ones that you wanted to appeal about having either stopped or changed. And we had to direct objections to the specific policy to demonstrate that it is not sound and assert that it should really be cancelled. And that's what we're aiming for. There's no point, as far as we're concerned, saying, yeah, we kind of like it a little bit, but if we can make these changes. We've sort of said, let's go down the line of let's try and get it stopped, full stop. And then obviously if they come back to us and want to change it, then obviously we may have to reassess depending on what the government inspector actually says. Okay, it was important that we specifically asked for the policy to be removed, because otherwise, one of the questions that we were asked on the form that we submitted was, do you think this plan is sound? And obviously if you said at that point, yes it is, well, it kind of negates all the hard work you put into actually objecting to it in the first place. So we have asked for HSG 7, HSG 8 to be removed from the policies map and for the land to continue to be shown as greenbelt. We have made a separate representation for both sites. That's because they both have their different issues and we felt it was important to address them as such. However, there are some core arguments in common for both sides. Okay? The first part of the core objection was the legal compliance. So we don't think that legally they've necessarily complied with what should have happened. We don't think they've necessarily procedurally done everything. We believe there has been a failure to consult. And we'll come on to that in a few minutes. But we don't believe they consulted us fully or properly. And we don't also believe that there was community involvement at the level that there should have been. There was some community involvement, absolutely, but not with the masses. It was with a few select individuals and perhaps through a few select groups, which most of us, including myself, probably didn't even realise existed. What we didn't include, right, we thought long and hard about this, and so we did have a man who's got some experience, so I've mentioned before, who's Ian Castledine, and Ian has sort of some experience of working in this field, and he was very much the guiding man behind this, and as he quite rightly stated, what the government inspector was looking for was not an emotional response. So saying that it's going to damage my view, or it's going to be a bit noisy, or it might inadvertently knock a few £1,000s off my house, wouldn't be seen as acceptable by the government inspector. So we didn't go down that line because it was thought that he would just discredit that straight away and just kind of move on to the next bullet point or the next argument. So we didn't go down that emotional line. As I say, because it wasn't something that would be accepted. So we have tried to sort of put our ideas in terms of sound sort of, arguments on procedure, on the legalities, okay, and obviously any other infrastructure developmental plans that might be a problem. Okay, so this then sort of really annoyed us because the following day after the deadline had passed, I don't know if any of you got this magazine. Yeah, it's called the In Touch magazine. It's the first time I've actually remembered seeing it. I've lived in Bulkington now for almost 15 years. But I actually had a look at this. I thought, oh, I'll have a look at this. And I say, it annoyed us because in it were all the plans about the proposals. And that was the day after the submission deadline. And we thought, you've had a wonderful opportunity here to publicise what was going on, and you didn't take it. So this magazine, I think there's 3 of these published every single year. So, I mean, is it really in touch or is it out of touch? I don't know, because I certainly didn't feel that I was being connected or in touch with this magazine. But just to show you what they actually put up, okay, first of all, it said the borough plan ended on the 13th of March. What happens now? Well, thanks for telling us that it came to an end. We all knew the deadline was the day before you actually sent this through our doors. And it says, residents and other interested parties have had the opportunity to discuss the plan with senior planning officers at various drop-in sessions across the borough. Well, there were several meetings at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in Bulkington. I think there's one there. I think we did turn up on the Saturday, the following Saturday at the council, and there were some planners there. I don't remember seeing any really senior people there to actually talk to. So I don't remember seeing a single councillor there either from across the borough. So actually we felt, that's probably a slight misrepresentation. The next point then is details of the proposed plan can be found on page 89, which they can, or details can be found on the council website, and the borough plan section can be found on the home page located under the planning and building icon. Brilliant. Why didn't you tell us that 3 or 4 weeks earlier? So we knew. Because unfortunately they didn't. There it is. It is there. It's all there in black and white. But the fact is, this came out too late. And I think a lot of us feel that, if you're going to do it, why not use social media? Why not use magazines like this effectively to get the message out? It's no good having 1 or 2 signs around Nuneaton and Bedworth when most of us don't go into Nuneaton and Bedworth. Okay, these platforms need to have been used in the first place. And the fact that you've done it sort of retrospectively after the deadline sort of didn't leave a good feeling, I think, with most of us. Okay, so we then decided, to actually contact the council about this. And we went on their Facebook page, because they do have a Facebook page. And again, I'm thinking, why wasn't this all publicised on the Facebook page, really? To ask them why this magazine had not been used to publicise the development proposals. I did actually send them a really polite message, because I'm not a rude person by nature, and I did write a polite message. There's no effing and jeffing going on in it. It was all very politely laid out, and they just decided to ignore it. So I wasn't very happy about that. And this is the second message. It's still up there on their website if you care to trawl through their Facebook page. Once you go through all the bunny rabbits and things that they're doing over Easter. There's me, Loves Cvetkovic. And this is what I said. I said, why did you not use the In Touch magazine to publicise the proposed developments at the start of the consultation period? Why did you only publicise it after the consultation period was over? And why did it say on page 3 the consultation period had closed yesterday? Oh, and on page 7 and 8, you can find a copy of the proposals that you could have objected to if only we had informed the residents of the borough. I feel a bit like Esther Ranson on that slide. This is another example of how you have not fully consulted with members of the public and have not been you've not been underhanded. Don't worry though, we are on to you, threatening, and you will be held accountable if you don't want to print my polite message and answer them on here because they cause embarrassment, then that's your decision. Please, however, look forward to my attendance at a future council meeting where I will submit and ask these questions and you will be duty bound to reply. So, this is what they came back to us with. Okay, so, hi Lubs. The consultation sadly fell between publication dates, but we wanted to let you know what happens next. Well, I would have liked to know what happened in the first place. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I was actually really miffed just reading that first sentence. I think my blood pressure went to a good 10-20 points just at that point. So, there was a consultation sadly fell between publication dates, but we wanted to let you know what happens next. Information is on the website. There were 7 drop-in sessions, and officers were available to talk to residents throughout the consultation. Well, in Bulkington, there was actually only, I think, was it 1 drop-in? Yeah, 1 drop-in. And that was at 3 PM in the afternoon, when I know a lot of us would have been working. Okay, so in terms of consultation, we don't feel that they've still given a good account of themselves. We publicise these through the local press and social media channels. Members of the public can attend any cabinet committee or scrutiny panel and speak for 3 minutes. I'm looking forward to my 3 minutes. They can make comments, but specific questions will not necessarily be answered, with the exception of planning application committees. Okay, and then it tells you who to kind of contact. They then tell us how to go about it, and the number of speakers is kind of limited on any given meeting. Okay, so if you want to check that out, please do. By the way, we will be uploading this PowerPoint, so if you've seen this www.savebulkington.com website, this PowerPoint I think has now been actually uploaded. It should have gone on at 7:30 this evening, so you can log into that, have a look on your iPhones or whatever, and just please do feel free to have a look. And again, if you want to check out Nuneaton Bedworth's website, you will see those messages there, so I'm hopefully not making any of this up. Okay, so the next opportunity is going to be the 26th of this month. This is when they're having a full cabinet meeting, and I believe that's followed by a full planning meeting. Is that correct? Yes, on the 26th? Yeah, so there's going to be one after the other. So we intend to be there, and at the moment we're just formulating questions that we want to ask. Now, we'll obviously submit these questions in advance, because what we don't want is we don't want to be given flippant answers. We want properly thought through answers, because unfortunately at the moment our dealings kind of haven't been that great with the council in terms of the kind of quality of answers that we're looking for. Okay, everything's been, we feel, done at a very superficial and basic level, and they're sort of glossing over a lot of the detail, which I think we as residents would like to see. Incidentally, we did find out today that they are having an extraordinary meeting on the 24th, and I suspect it's probably in connection with this. So again, if that is open to members of the public, then we will try to make sure that somebody is there to listen into that, assuming that is open, of course, to the public. Okay, so in the meantime, what we've started to do is we've already started submitting questions. So we did write to the sort of director of the council, the chief executive. Okay, and we did ask them some questions. Obviously, they're too important to reply to us. So they gave the task to Kelly Ford. And those of you who sort of, probably most of you don't know who Kelly Ford is, but she was sort of in charge, really. She's sort of like, I think, just underneath the director in terms of the planning stuff, the planning side of it. And she's actually been our contact throughout, and she's actually been very quick at responses. So I would like to say thank you very much, Kelly Ford. The bad news, however, is within a few days of this consultation period coming to an end, she did actually resign her post and is now due to be leaving at some point in the not too distant future. So we wish her all the very best, but to be honest, I'm not surprised she's leaving, because I can imagine she can think what her life is going to be like in the next few months if she has stayed with the council and having to deal with the fallout from this. But we did ask them some questions. I'm just going to go through some of these questions. So the first one was, what special measures were adopted to ensure proprietary and for scrutiny purposes during the call for sites? So the call for sites is them actually sort of going and getting information about which sites they wanted to have. So they don't just sort of say, yeah, we want that bit, we want that bit. They actually sort of ask and say, has anyone got land? Okay, and what they said is, to answer question 1 and 2, we'll look at the second question in a moment, the identification and assessment of the sites was undertaken in line with the strategic housing land availability assessment methodology, which was produced at a sub-regional level and subject to public consultation projects. And she did then give me actually a link to it, but I don't know about you, I don't have time to sit down and read like hundreds of pages looking at how they've come up with the specific formula. The second question was how many sites were submitted and what were the key qualifications? And she just says, see my previous answer. Well, I don't see any numbers there about how many sites were submitted. And I suppose the key qualifications is look at the methodology that the council used. Okay, but again, not a very transparent process. And I think this is, again, the point that we're trying to raise. In terms of transparency in the way they've dealt with us, it hasn't been very transparent. And we feel that throughout, we're being given a line and we're being expected to swallow it, and that just isn't going to work for us. The next question, the government white paper says you must communicate and share plans with the community. Why was it left so late in the day to communicate the plans? And they replied, the borough plan consultation was publicised through community forums. Can I just have a quick show of hands? Who knew those community forums were going on in Bulkington? Did anyone know? Okay, one person, anyone else? No, so one out of a whole room. So I'm guessing their publicity needs some improvement in that case, in terms of getting the message out to people so that we're aware of what's going on. And the community forum is where dates, meetings coincided with the consultation. So they would tell you if the dates coincided with their planned sort of events. If it didn't, then you probably weren't going to know anything about it. The community forums are administered by Warwickshire County Council. Okay, you can contact the team that deals with forums. Well, that's as maybe. Warwickshire County Council may be the people issuing it, but really, we're dealing with Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council because they are our local council, and it's their plan that we're discussing here. So we really feel that, again, the onus should have been on them to actually do that. Next, when did the proposals go to Cabinet, and what date did the extra land proposals get included? So, if you remember, on